For nearly 1,000 days, Ukraine has been fighting against Russian aggression. The recent election of Donald Trump has sparked questions about ongoing support for Kyiv and the security of Europe. After almost 2 years, President Volodymyr Zelenskyj appointed a Ukrainian ambassador to the Czech Republic. So where do our diplomatic relations stand today? How concerned are Ukrainians about the growing alliance between Russia and North Korea? And what impact might Trump's election have on Putin's war? We will discuss these topics and more with our guest. I'm Pavlína Horáková. Welcome to Epicentrum. It is with great pleasure that I can welcome in our studio the ambassador of Ukraine to the Czech Republic, Vasylem Zvaryčem. Hello, and thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. It's my great pleasure and honor.
Dear Mr. Ambassador, what is the current situation on battlefields? In which areas is the fighting the most intense and maybe worrisome at this moment?
Well, definitely the situation is very bad, frankly speaking, because Russians are trying to advance slowly but steadily. And our brave soldiers are trying to defend our land. And you see, it's not the easiest task, because the length of the front line is more than 1,500 kilometers. And they have to fight at each and every kilometer there, and it makes things very difficult. But anyway, we can confirm that and admit that Russians, they have not gained any strategic advantages so far. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, they have a superiority in manpower and in the air. That's why we are asking our partners to support our air defense systems first and foremost. We see that each and every day and night we are under constant attacks from the air, drones and rocket attacks, and each and every day we are losing our civilians. UN confirmed data just for September show that we lost 209 civilians. Among them 9 kids, dozens are wounded. So it's really a terrorist kind of attacks, and we are calling to the international democratic world not to get used to this, and to not only by words but by concrete deeds help us all to defend ourselves against this evil. There is no doubt that Russia is a terrorist country, and Putin is a terrorist and criminal, and he is trying to establish a kind of axis of evil, cooperating with North Korea, with Iran. So I think that it's a great challenge for all of us, and by being together, by joining our forces, exerting common efforts, we can definitely win. It's not the easiest task nowadays, but it's a huge possibility. Everything depends on our determination and on our resources. So basically, let's do our best to help us win and to help all us win.
Let's focus on some of the things you mentioned. You talked about the manpower, and let's talk about the fact that the New York Times reported that around 50,000 Russian and North Korean troops are preparing to attack and reclaim the Kursk region in Ukraine, from Ukraine. North Korea has also signed a major defense treaty with Russia, promising mutual military support. How concerning is this partnership for you?
Well, it's not only for us, but it's for the entire democratic community. Very concerning developments. We see here a very concrete alliance between Russia and North Korea, which is threatening not only Ukraine but the entire democratic world, and including the U.S. strategic interests. So we have to be serious about it, and we were the first to inform the world about the presence of North Korean soldiers in Kursk region nowadays, and we have reports that their numbers are 12,000, and they are most probably preparing to enter the temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine. It will be another development of this
within days, right?
Within days, and they are already on the battlefield, and as our Minister of Defense reports, there were already clashes between Ukrainian forces and North Korean forces. In Kursk Oblast, there are casualties among North Korean soldiers as well. So it's very, very concerning development. But before that, we know that North Korea supplied Russia with the long-range missiles that they are using now in their terrorist attacks on Ukrainian soil. So basically, it is a development that all democratic countries should react on it.
So what do you need in short term, right now?
First and foremost, we need to strengthen our air defense. The second, we need to see the determination on the part of our allies that we will not allow Putin to achieve his barbaric goals in Ukraine. And the third, we have to strengthen Ukraine's military capabilities and strengthen sanctions against Russia, against North Korea, against all the countries which support Putin's regime. We see that sanctions are in place, but they are not perfect. And unfortunately, Putin finds the way how to circumvent them, how to bypass them. Therefore, we have to strike those lines, those countries which help him to bypass sanctions. And it's really very dangerous situation, because we still see that Russia has capacities and has capabilities to wage this war of aggression, and it should change. I mean, it is against the interest of all of us, of all the democratic world.
Do you have any signals that some of the allies are really ready to act right now? Because you mentioned it's a matter of days.
I think that for some partners, for some countries, it's not the easiest thing just to switch immediately from the comfortable peace situation into warfare activities. But we have to think about it very seriously if we want the peace and international law to prevail. You know that this war of aggression started by Putin is not only about Ukraine. The objective of Putin is not some territories of Ukraine. The objective of Putin is to undermine the entire system of international architecture, security architecture. He wants to influence. He wants this world to be divided again into the spheres of influence, and he wants to be a master of all the destinies of countries around him. And the freedom of nation or the sovereignty of nations doesn't fit his strategy. So if you hear him talking and his speeches, what is lacking is the will of nation. He's speaking about NATO, about some threats, about everything, but he doesn't mention the will of nation. So for him, people doesn't exist. I mean, so he sees only his brutal strategy how to undermine the entire system of international law and order. So that's the very worrisome situation. And if democratic countries understand it like this perfectly well, so they will exert more efforts to stop him and not let him undermine the international law further. So I think that that's a very huge possibility that our partners decide to be more active in order to stop this madness.
One of the most important allies is United States of America. They had elections. They elected Donald Trump as the next president. Trump has claimed he could end the war in 24 hours. One of his peace plans for Ukraine includes creating 1,300 kilometers demilitarized zone and blocking Ukraine from joining NATO for 20 years. Trump also called Zelenskyj the greatest salesman of all the politicians he ever known. Meanwhile, Trump's son, Donald Jr., recently posted that Zelenskyj is 38 days from losing his allowance, hinting at cutting U.S. funding for Ukraine. When you hear statements like these, are you concerned that the American support will decrease or disappear?
Well, I think that the real battle in front of President-elect Donald Trump to make America great again is ahead of him. And it also includes his real battle for the overseas strategic interest of the US. So if US really thinks and wants to be great again, US administration should be very proactive overseas as well. And first and foremost, very proactive in defending the basic principles, freedom, democracy, that is at stake nowadays, also for the US, because of the Putin's threat. And I'm pretty much sure that such words as justice, fairness, law, these are not simple words for Donald Trump. And well, he will do his best to help to solve this situation, this madness on the part of Putin, based on the principles of international law, because it is in the true interest of the US themselves. Therefore, I think we should not be panicking about return to the White House of Mr. Donald Trump. We simply have to work closely with him to exert joint efforts to explain to him the importance of standing side by side with Ukraine, with free, independent, sovereign Ukraine. And I'm pretty much sure that he is a very wise man, and he can take proper conclusions from his previous relations with Putin as well. And that is the task for all of our allies, for all of our partners, to talk to President-elect Donald Trump and explaining him the importance of of international law, which should prevail. And I am very much grateful to Prime Minister of Czech Republic, Petr Fiala, who just yesterday, a few days ago, he spoke with Donald Trump, and he raised also the issue of Russian aggression against Ukraine. I think that these kind of conversations are very helpful.
Did you talk to our Prime Minister? Did he tell you what Donald Trump said to this topic?
No, I had no such an opportunity, because the Prime Minister went to COP meeting in Azerbaijan. But absolutely, I think that taking into consideration the solid position of Czech Republic, Czech government in support for Ukraine and against this Russian madness, I'm pretty much sure that the Prime Minister explained in a very good way the importance of supporting Ukraine.
Donald Trump did have a phone call with Volodymyr Zelenskyj. He apparently, Elon Musk was on the phone call too, and they apparently said that the support for Ukraine will continue. They did not say in which form, so hopefully everything will be quite okay, as you said.
And I'm pretty much sure that President-elect Donald Trump understands that this war of aggression started by Russia is not about Ukraine only. It is not about certain territories. It is about the freedom of nation to choose its destiny. If we as Ukrainians decide to be a member of NATO, Putin shouldn't have any voice about it, because it's our decision as a sovereign nation to be a member of NATO. Nobody can prevent us from entering NATO. No matter what.
Sorry, Mr. Ambassador. So the peace plan that is counting with 20 years without Ukraine joining NATO, or the peace plans that are saying you're just going to give up some of your territory, that is not a possibility for you?
I'm pretty much sure that it's not a plan for lasting, just and the solid peace that all of us want to achieve. And if you look at the victory plan presented by our president, it is a very realistic one. The first point of this plan is invitation for Ukraine to join NATO, which doesn't mean that we will become NATO member just tomorrow after we receive this invitation. But it will show, first and foremost, to our society that Ukraine is a part of the Western civilization, that all what our soldiers are fighting for is it really matters for NATO allies. And now we are receiving this experience that we can use to strengthen the Euro-Atlantic community at large. And it would be a great signal also to Putin and his administration that he should now have any kind of voice when it comes to the sovereign decision of nations. And it's not only about Ukraine, it's about the principle, the basic principle on which we as Europeans want to develop our future and our current life. If we give something to Putin, I mean, to appease him, it will be, I mean...
he's going to want more.
He's going to, yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, we will give him an open door to continue this kind of aggressions. Maybe not today, but in the future. So we will lay foundation for the risks and insecurity for our kids. I'm not sure that any of politicians in Europe or in the world, the politicians of the top rank like the President-elect Donald Trump, wants to prepare for his kids, for his future generations, the world full of new risks and challenges posed by, again, unsolved properly Russian aggression issue.
The Czech Republic has provided over 7 billion crowns worth of aid to Ukraine since the conflict started, since the conflict escalated in February 2022. Have you received any indications from the Czech representatives that this level of support might be reaching its limit?
Well, I think it's not about it's not only about this particular number, which means the support for Ukraine. The support in Ukraine is a very multifaceted approach. I mean, it's not only about financial support, it's not only about military, it's also about political, humanitarian, but it's also about building alliances to support not only Ukraine, but as I said it from the beginning, to support the basic principles of international law. I think that sometimes we go a bit misleading, speaking only about supporting Ukraine. Everything support Ukraine, support. Of course, Ukraine is at the forefront of the current Russian aggression, but I'm pretty much sure that we have to shift the accent by saying that supporting Ukraine, you support yourselves. It's not a charity. It's an investment in your own security, in the security of your own kids and future generations. Based on that approach, I think we can find unlimited resources to create and establish the system that can be really resilient to any type of threats from the authoritarian regimes, be it from Russia, from Iran, or from North Korea in the future.
But do you feel that the support that is coming from our country to you, it has still the same strength? Or do you feel there is a limit?
Well, I see that there are new opportunities opened here, and the type or the kind of support is a bit different, but the support itself remains solid, and we do appreciate such an approach that we hear from the president, from the prime minister, from parliament of the Czech Republic, and first and foremost from the people of Czech Republic, because I admire the approach of people who love freedom and who support those who fight for freedom.
But what do you say to reactions or what is your reaction to when you hear some of the Czech politicians saying or calling for immediate peace settlement, even if it involves territorial concessions? What would you say to those?
Well, I would.
For example, our former prime minister, he's been saying that.
Definitely I would invite him to come to Ukraine one day, to talk to people on the ground, to feel first and foremost what they want, and to look into the eyes of mothers who lost their sons in the war, and ask them what kind of ceasefire or peace you wish to achieve. And I'm sure that he would hear the answers, which sometimes are not, the same as he thinks. And those who paid such a huge price for the freedom of nation want to have this freedom, because otherwise they would feel that the loss of their beloved ones came in vain.
We have a common neighbor, Slovakia. At Friday's summit in Budapest, Hungarian Prime Minister and a big Trump supporter, Viktor Orbán, and also Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico were the only EU leaders to call for a change in the European strategy towards Ukraine. What's your perspective on the recent stance of Hungary and Slovakia?
Well, it's a very difficult question, and sometimes we don't understand why they are behaving like that. When the basic principles on which Hungary, Slovakia are also based on being undermined by Putin and his aggression against Ukraine. Well, the unity is at stake, and I think that Putin can use it to his benefits, seeing that there is a lack of unity among Europeans when it comes to support for Ukraine. And that's why we have to work harder and harder, talking to Slovakia, talking to Hungary, the way as our president does, to persuade them that we are on the same page and we have to be together if we want to be successful and secure.
As I mentioned at the beginning, Ukraine went almost 2 years without an ambassador here in the Czech Republic. How do you think this impact our relations, and was there any missed opportunity for maybe stronger support during this time?
Well, I don't think that it was a lost opportunity, because the support for Ukraine rendered by the Czech government was not because of ambassador, but because of the strategic interests of the Czech Republic itself. That's why we saw such a huge wave of support, and we still see it. But on the other hand, I'm happy that I am here now, and I think that I will use this opportunity to do my best to strengthen these relations even more. I'm sure that these relations now are on the top, and we can call them a strategic partnership. And I see a huge space for activities here. And we have a lot of opportunities how to strengthen our relations based on win-win approach. Because we see the new projects appear, joint projects. I just came from one place where I saw one of the most successful projects of joint production of drones. And it was really a success. A success for the scale of the entire Atlantic community. And there are many and plenty of such cases. We have a huge economic potential to utilize. And we see how active the Czech business and the Czech government is on the issues of rebuilding Ukraine. We see and we appreciate that the Czech government took so-called patronage over Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, and we see that up to 20 Czech companies are already present there on the ground with an investment up to 12 million euro. And they are making profits, they are trying to develop their businesses there, and there's a huge potential. I think that we have to talk about opportunities, not only risks and challenges, but about opportunities. And I think that this is my job as an ambassador, to persuade the Czech society, to persuade Czech business that these opportunities are growing, and we have to make proper use of them for the benefits of our both nations.
So if you would have to use one word to describe the Czech and Ukrainian relationships, how are they?
Strategic ones.
Strategic, okay. Do you have information about how many Ukrainian refugees actually are now living in the Czech Republic, and what are the biggest challenges for them right now?
Well, first of all, I am very thankful that the Czech government and the Czech people opened their hearts and houses for Ukrainian refugees. For the time being, we have about 300,000 Ukrainians who are under temporary protection here in Czech Republic. But before 2022, we had also up to 200,000 Ukrainians living and working here. So if you add all of them, so we see that it's more than up to 600,000 Ukrainians living here. But what is important that they are not simply living and waiting for some social benefits. They are working hard, and we see the statistic that more than 70% from the Ukrainian refugees are employed here. They are paying taxes. And what is very important, I am very proud of, is that Ukrainians, they are making profits also for the Czech budget. And it's when we hear sometimes from different voices, even here in Czechia, that Ukrainians are the burden for the Czech government or for the Czech budget. It's simply not true, because even if we take first half of this year, we see that the profits, so to say profits, from Ukrainians who pay taxes into the Czech economy is at the level of 4.4 billion Czech kronas. So I mean, it's a very clear profits for the Czech budget, and I'm happy that it is like this, that Ukrainians are not only consumers of your solidarity, but also they are delivers of their own solidarities, of their own knowledge, technologies, and hard work.
Are there any plans for the foreseeable future for upcoming visits between Ukrainian and Czech representatives?
Well, due to the security reasons, we try to keep such information in secret until it happens. So let's simply wait a little bit and see.
Okay, we're going to be waiting. Last questions. We are just not even 2 months before Christmas. Are you going to spend Christmas here in the Czech Republic, or are you going to go home to Ukraine?
I'll be definitely here to feel the flavor of Christmas in Czech Republic. I'm looking forward to it. But with my thoughts and with my heart, I'll be definitely with my relatives in Ukraine. I can admit that this winter will be very hard in Ukraine, because Russians, they destroyed Ukrainian energy infrastructure, and that's why the winter will be very cold for Ukrainians, but it doesn't mean that we will surrender. So I think that we have to express to our Ukrainians, to our relatives in Ukraine, our strong support, and not only by words but also by deeds, and be together. I mean, be together all the time.
Talking about deeds, maybe we can use this platform, our interview here, for the people who are watching us. Maybe they can help. Is there anything that they can help with in terms of the really rough winter that's ahead of the Ukrainians?
We are. We would be very grateful if we received more power generators, more spare parts to fix our energy system, our supply lines, and so on. Everything which can help Ukrainians to live in relatively warm houses during this winter would be really helpful to us.
That was the ambassador of Ukraine to the Czech Republic, Vasylem Zvaryčem. Thank you so much for making time for us, and I hope I'll see you at some interview again very soon.
Thank you so much. Děkuji moc krát.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.